Hello there, and welcome to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast, where we'll have a little fun, lots of laughs, and discussions on the common sense that needs to be applied to a lot of today's world news issues. And now, the disclaimer. Stay Off My Lawn is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary to win. Open to legal U.S. residents 18 or over in the contiguous 48 states. Any resemblance to anyone living or deceased is purely coincidental. Actual price may vary. Only use as directed. Not a member of FDIC. And now, here are your hosts, Mike and Richard.
And preparation is part of the H, I guess. I don't know.
Don't try this at home, folks, because we are, and you can see what happens.
Welcome to this week's edition of Stay Off My Lawn. We are not having any fun yet, so just hang in there. We'll get there. It is September 17th, 2024, and this is episode 83. That's a big 83. It's older than Joe.
Hey, could you repeat that, Sean? 80 what?
80, older than Joe, 83. Anyway, a special welcome to those on the Oracle Talk Radio Network. I think this is week 2 for us.
Yes, it is. Wow. It seems like we've been on there a while, but nope, it's only week 2.
We joined a bunch of other great shows on there, and we are on 5 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. So you can do 5 p.m. Yeah, I did say p.m. 1,700 hours for you military types. It's OracleTalkRadioNetwork.com. So speaking of Oracle, we were invited to a
and don't forget, when you get on Oracle, because I went on it to go find what we were doing, and it sounds great. You just have to scroll down the page. Once you get there, it'll have the times that different shows are on, and you're going, well, I keep clicking on the Stay Off My Lawn logo. I ain't going to get you anywhere.
No.
Scroll down if you're on there on 5, and boom, you'll see a play button, and it's on top of our logo, and away you go.
That's right. And you'll learn stuff. But
yeah, because we're professionals, okay?
We were on on Oracle Live last week, a special edition of it for 9/11. We were invited to do that. That was a lot of fun, huh?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. There was some stuff thinking about, and you know, there's tons of conspiracies out there of stuff that's just not right going on. But the one thing that keeps bugging me about that was that Building 7 that was nowhere close, not like right next door to the 2 towers. And why did that one go down? There was no reason for it.
Yeah, and it was brought up. A lot of conspiracies got thrown around in that show that a lot of them I had never heard of before. Talking about the reinforced steel that was part of those buildings.
Should have never come down.
It shouldn't have melted the way it did and disintegrated. But but these are things we'll probably never ever get the answers to. You know, you think about the Roswell and think about JFK assassination and think about. What was the other thing that I had written down for that? But I mean, there's the moon landing. There's a lot of things that sort of like, how in the world do we not have that technology to get back to the moon now? Well, we had it back in 1969 when I was 5 years old. How can that be? So, I mean, there's a lot of things that I just don't get. I don't know if I necessarily buy into all that, but there's a lot of unanswered questions, and that got explored in depth on that show. So, anyway,
there was lots of it, and it was great talking to the founders of the Oracle Network, which have been so professional. It makes us look like a couple of hicks doing stuff out of our bedroom.
We are hicks doing stuff out of it.
Oh, that's why it makes us look that.
That's exactly why.
We both have professional studios, and we got everything. In fact, it was kind of humorous that one of the founders of Oracle said, my son was listening to your show, and then he came and talked to me. He goes, Mom, those guys sound great. You sound terrible. So we'll take the compliment, and we're working with her to help her get her set up so that it'll turn out well for her.
Yeah, I think she's made an upgrade, and things have. I bet things have gotten a lot better. I heard from her through email yesterday, and that it does sound a little bit better. So I'm, whenever we can help.
You know what? And bravo to her to ask. It's like my stuff. My son says my stuff sounds like garbage. You guys sound so good. Can you help me out? We're happy to.
Absolutely.
Because we've been through all of the oh man, this sounds so good. And then you listen to stuff you did a few years ago and you go,
It's like, oh my
yeah, that
gosh.
setup wasn't as good as I thought it was.
Can't believe I got paid for that. That was terrible. So yeah. I mean, but that's part of it. You know, Richard and I have recorded things for people all around the world, and it's studio quality, it's broadcast quality, and it took a lot of trial and error and a lot of work and a lot of learning to get to that point. So yeah, we don't mind spreading that around a lot. Some people will try to charge you for all that. You find some people with actual hearts in their chest. You can get some free information. And
and we both believe in paying it forward. People have helped us and weren't trying to dig into our pockets for what little cash we did or didn't have at the time. And so I don't mind helping somebody else if you don't want me to do it all for you. If you go, I just have a question. What are you doing? And I might need a little help. And okay, I'll point you in the right direction. That's great. I'm not doing it for you, but I will help you out.
And we certainly won't tell you to go spend a ton of money. Because
not necessary.
I don't have a ton of money invested. I mean, I've got a ton of money invested. But I did it slowly over time.
Yes.
And some of it was
got a bunch of jobs, and the bank account for the voiceover got a little bit bigger. It's like, okay, now I can wipe a bunch of that out and buy some of this, and then it moves up a little bit, and you take that money and buy something else and improve a little at a time as you go.
I was lusting over my Lewitt interface a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago at Christmas time. My son surprised me. He said, hey, I just transferred some money in your account. Go get it. It's like, wow, it was a great Christmas present. I still love this thing. But anyway, so, you just let your family know what you want for Christmas, and it's not so bad. So anyway, if you go to their Oracle Talk Radio Networks, YouTube, and I'm not sure if they're on Rumble or not. Oh, by the way, we got anyway, if you go to their YouTube channel, you'll be able to watch the panel, and I think it went on for a little over an hour. It was a lot,
not much over an hour, 6-7 minutes, something kind of like our show.
It's supposed to be an hour, ends up an hour 15, so that's just the way that goes. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and you might be able to kind of see how everybody kind of interacts. And these are all people from they have their own shows on Oracle, so it was fun. By the way, speaking of YouTube, I was going to say is that we got taken down off of YouTube after about an hour last week. So we're going to focus more on Rumble. They have a little bit more dedication to the Bill of Rights than YouTube does necessarily.
Yeah. So, and the closer it gets to the election, the worse some of these places are getting. It's like, give me a break.
Absolutely. I don't care that we make them mad and they take our stuff down. It doesn't put my knickers in the knot too much at all. But I mean, we just have to find other places to put our stuff. And we're grateful that
Rumble's been great there. It's everything is stay off my lawn. So look for our lovely little logo. If you're not familiar with, go to Instagram, and where else are we putting the promo? Did they take our promo down too? I can't remember.
Promo's still up there, but the show got taken down. But we were on BitChute. We did that for a little while, but I mean, I just didn't get any feedback from them. I'm going to try to research some more stuff that we could put it up at. But right now, Rumble is really kind of my focus right now. Plus, we got so many things going on personally. We've got car issues for the kids, and we've got all kinds of stuff going on. So, I mean, I am just busy. I know Richard's busy with things on his plantation out there in Idaho. And
yes, at my plantation, as Beauregard often tells me, he says, son, why don't you hire some fine young people to do that? It's because I can't find any fine young people.
There's no fine young people out there, hardly. Oh my God! Speaking of fine young people,
but it is that time of year where I have to get some things done and ready for wintertime is creeping up rapidly.
I got grass to mow. I've got bushes to chop down. I've just got stuff to do, and I just haven't had 2 minutes hardly to rub together. Rather than I put together the show the last couple of days, and other than that, I've had auditions to do that would take in 15 minutes. I just haven't had time. So, so anyway, feel sorry for me, and we'll move on from there.
Well, that's what's going on with StayOffMyLawn.com.
Behind the scenes.
On Friday, my latest acting venture with Project Audion, that's AUDION.com, was released on Friday the 13th. It's
Oh boy.
for anybody out there who likes Pride and Prejudice. It is a script from 1947 that was they did a pretty good job of cutting it down
Cliff
and
Notes
giving
on
you the
steroids.
flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Cliff Notes with an audio version.
Yes,
The acting
yes.
crew was fantastic. I got to play Mr. Bennett. That Mrs. Bennett, will you please? Anyway, it was a lot of fun, and it's doing well. But go listen to it. There's some very, very good actors in this deal. So
Yeah,
Pride and Prejudice on projectaudion.com.
Richard sent that to me, and I had errands to do around town the other day, so I just had it playing through my car speakers. And the timing of these people, obviously they're very professional actors, but the timing of these people, just the way they interacted together, you'd think they'd been working together for years, and that's just not the case.
We had one rehearsal.
Yeah, it was incredible.
It was a sad reason. One of the actors, the gentleman who played Mr. Darcy, his mother passed. And so he was having to go travel when we were going to have the final recording and have another rehearsal. And we just decided Friday we would do kind of little short bits together and kind of get in the mood. And here we go. I even dressed up in the whole shooting match.
Yeah, everybody dressed up. Well, most everybody dressed up. Yeah. The Foley guy was great. I guess he's the director too, right? But the guy who did the Foley, the hoof sounds and everything. Yeah. It was fantastic. I mean, you got to watch it and listen. I wasn't watching while driving, trust me, but I was listening very closely. And I knew what he was doing.
Made to listen to. We do. There are expressions. You cannot have expressions in your voice if you're not moving. If you're just sitting still, it's not coming out.
That's right.
I can't do that. It's impossible.
I do that in reading a commercial script. I mean, I have this friend from Italy, and he's always making fun of me and talking with his fingers like that, just shaking his hand like an old Italian guy. Anyway, So anyway,
what's the matter, you? Why you not like what I fix you? Huh? He's gonna be so nice. I put a lot of love into my food, but you need to sit down and eat it, okay?
I'm not one to throw my arms around while I talk normally, but it's like so I do that. That way I don't hit the microphone with anything, but it kind of gives you a little bit more gump, behind what you're saying. So anyway, well, we talked 12 minutes and we haven't gotten to anything.
We haven't gotten anywhere.
Again, for our new segment, this is here we go.
Tis time for Auntie Camilla's words of wisdom for the week.
So you know how those lids are, because I'm just going to speak, okay? So this is it. So you know how those lids on those Starbucks cups, they're white, right? And so if you wear lipstick, they get all over the lid. And so then I find myself in meetings if I'm the only woman, and and so I keep taking the lid off and having my cup out so that I don't have that big lipstick mark on the lid. So I said, can we do something about the color of the lid?
Well, there you go. These are high priority policy matters. And did she call someone a woman, assuming gender? If you're a woman, it seems like trannies have lipstick too, right? I mean,
that's what I've seen that are working in the White House. The one gentleman. I don't understand the. You know what? You got lipstick on your cup. Does it bother you? You've probably never had too many meetings that way, but. It's like, okay, well, they're wearing lipstick and now it's on their cup. They're going to have to reapply their lipstick and improve their face so it looks pretty again. It's like, whatever.
I worked in a warehouse. None of the women, I don't think, wore lipstick. They were more manly than me, a lot of them. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Oh,
so anyway.
If it isn't one thing, it's something else. It's like, really? That's what you want to talk to press corps about? Well, she has to come up with something because she has no policy she wants to talk about because she doesn't have any policy.
I will say, though, I do enjoy hearing her laugh because it does seem like a truly genuine laugh. And if there's anything genuine about her, then it would be that laugh, I suppose.
It's kind of more a nervous laugh. Let's just leave it at that. It's like, I don't have anything. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Boy, lots of
Um,
issues. Anyway,
Definitely. We are still reeling from that second Trump assassination the other day. Again, if you're one of those people who went on social media and said things like, better luck next time or third time's a charm, please don't listen to our show. Go away. Go away. We don't want you here. Disconnect from us on social media. I'm speaking for Richard here, but I know him and I feel the same way.
yes.
And if you're close enough to me and you have my phone number stored in your phone, delete me because we don't have enough in common to be friends. So that's just kind of the way that's going to go. If you disrespect another person's life that much, then yeah, we don't have enough
Because
in
you
common.
don't agree with them, you think they need to be dead. That's
Yeah.
a sad path to go down. It's
Yeah.
kind of rather disgusting just because you can't have a civil conversation and you're
Absolutely.
not getting your way. It's like, I'm going to hold my breath until I turn blue or squeeze the trigger, whichever. It's like, okay,
Yep. And
not interested.
we're going to dig into the reason I think people feel that way too, coming up after the break, because there's a lot to uncover there. And I think that if you're not familiar with, we're going to put a bunch of stuff together. Glenn Beck had put a bunch of stuff together. We're going to play some of that. So we will get to that. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
More of the Stay Off My Lawn podcast is coming up.
Rock legends Journey bring their Freedom Tour 2024 to venues across the UK in October and November.
Don't stop believing.
With very special guests, Cheap Trick.
I want you to want me.
The epic tour kicks off at the Utilita Arena in Cardiff on October the 30th and culminates at the O2 in London on November the 17th.
Any way you want.
Tickets are on sale now at aegp.uk/journey. For the chance to win tickets to see Journey and Cheap Trick on the Freedom Tour 2024, visit radiocaroline.co.uk and enter our free online draw.
You make me weak.
All right, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 2, and we're going to dig into the Democrats and the leftist media. They've spoken for years about Trump being like the second incarnation of that little mustachioed guy from Germany.
Yeah.
We'll probably end up, I'll slip and say his name later, but the kind of constant rhetoric that has had an effect on people, you got to think about the low IQ people, and not even low IQ people. And I feel like I'm putting people down about this, and I suppose I am. But you think about the quote from Nazi propaganda minister. They actually had a propaganda minister. This is what his title was. Joseph Goebbels said that if you repeat a lie often enough, it becomes the truth, which obviously is not true. You can't repeat it enough to where it becomes the truth. But in people's minds, it becomes the truth. And
Right.
And
It doesn't change it actually to the truth. It's just people believe it
Right.
as if it were the truth.
their perception
There,
changes.
is that better said?
No, that's very good. It's very much better than I, or me, or whatever it is.
And I posted and said something about this for years, but it always reading stuff, and they were executed as well. The media was the leaders of the media of the different news outlets and stuff in Germany were held in contempt, and or just as much as those that were in the war machine.
Mhm.
And I'm going, why would they? Well, now I understand. It's
Sure.
taken just the last few years since Trump ran for president the first time, and another 4 years of listening to these people do nothing but tear him apart. I don't think that's going to go over really
Right,
well.
right.
They're already losing their shorts, but I can understand when you have the news media. It's I think was in Mein Kampf that also said tell a lie so big that people go, well, that can't be a lie. There's no way.
Yeah,
And then
they couldn't
tell it
make up
often
something like
enough,
that.
and people go, well, I guess that must be true.
That's right.
No, it's not.
It's Marxist 101. That's exactly what it is.
Yep.
And you had mentioned something. Oh, the media. Yeah, the media really didn't get on board with that Nazi propaganda stuff until, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it had to be around 1932. And you got to think by the time 1939 rolled around and Hitler was in power and he was kind of like deciding to invade places. I mean, they were all on board because they had been hit with at that point 7 years of this constant propaganda saying that
And they were also in the schools. Where do you think the
Yes.
brown shirts came from?
Absolutely. So I
And
mean,
that's happening here. They're being indoctrinated
Mhm.
with stuff that's not clear up in through college.
yeah, Oh yeah, definitely. In America, that's been happening over and over. I mean, the Russians had a hand in that, and I've always talked about playing Yuri Bezmenov again eventually, and I think maybe we'll do that next week. But he was
good idea. I like that.
Yeah, he was an ex KGB agent, and he was interviewed in the 70s up in Canada where he defected, and talked about that was the plan of the KGB even back in the 60s and 70s to infiltrate the American schools and start low. It's fascinating to hear it. I listen to it off and on just to kind of remind myself of how things can change by just messing with teachers. I mean, they've kind of infiltrated the teachers, and
yep.
It's
well,
just
that's
awful.
the universities, and that's where they're coming from, and they've been indoctrinated all the way from the time they got in school, in public schools, clear through university.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Glenn Beck put together this montage of celebrities, politicians, and pundits doing just that. The whole lie about how bad Trump is. This is going back all the way back to 2016. I think you'll know this first voice is Johnny Depp. So here we go.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
I believe that Trump poses a fundamental threat to America.
Trump is as destructive a person in this century as Hitler, Stalin, and Mao were in the last century.
President Trump is dangerous to America and the future of America.
We need to articulate the fact that Donald Trump is a danger to America.
He must go. He is a clear and present danger to the nation.
Donald Trump is a fascist leader, and he's mobilizing his forces.
Donald Trump is a genuine threat to this nation. He's a threat to our freedom. He's a threat to our democracy.
He is not only unfit, he is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated.
The existential threat to the United States of America is Donald Trump.
I see Trump as a danger to our democracy, and I see him as a self-proclaimed fascist.
Trump is an existential threat to the future of America.
David Aronovich, who presents Radio 4's Briefing Room show, took to X/Twitter and wrote, "If I was Biden, I'd hurry it up and have Trump murdered on the basis that he is a threat to America's security."
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that,
well, that's, and if you just take the time to, every time they accuse him of something that way, going and looking at it, that's exactly what the Democrats are doing. And talk about the pot calling the kettle black, which is an old saying. To Kamala Harris, you and I both have the same number of votes she has to be running for president.
Exactly.
If that's not a threat to our democracy, I don't know what is, because that is not how this country runs. It's like, oh yeah, well, we're doing a coup, and this old guy who doesn't even know his name half the days, that we're moving him off. So who's president?
That's not constitutional.
I know it is. The guy in the basement with the sweats on. But when they give Kamala 14,000 votes and they went, "Oh, you chose her? Yeah, okay, sure. She's just going to be a puppet anyway. Yeah, fine. Go ahead."
Well, I think that's the whole idea, because even though
she's not democracy,
she's not really mentally equipped, I don't think, for the job. But with Trump, the whole thing, I've heard this hypothetical a couple of times in the media, to where they said, if you could go back in time when Hitler was a baby, and you had the opportunity to murder him, would you? And I'm thinking, yeah, you would save 6 million people, but they're associating that with Trump, and they're getting these low IQ people to mobilize and stick a gun through a bush on a golf course. I mean, it's like, I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get why people don't understand what's being told to them, and why they're being manipulated to think that Trump is an actual evil person. I don't buy that at all. He's not evil.
The number of good things that he's done. He was loved by the Hollywood types. He helped. Didn't he give to the campaign of Jesse Jackson at one time when he ran? Had all these people, and they loved him until he ran for president for the quote unquote other side. Not that.
I saw a
Well,
video
now
of,
he's suddenly evil. He stepped over the line, so now he must be evil.
I saw a video of him on The View before he started running for president. And man, Whoopi Goldberg hugged him. I think Joy Behar hugged him. I mean, they just thought he was
Baba
wonderful.
Wawa loved him.
Yeah, I forgot about her. But yeah, they did love him. I mean, they had nothing against him. But now all of a sudden he's the most despicable person on the planet. But after the first attempt on Trump's life, the left called for everyone to cool down the inflammatory talk. And did that really happen, though?
Not by them, it didn't. No. That's for damn sure.
Here's an example of some of that cooling down since the first assassination attempt.
We're here to say f*** Trump, f*** MAGA, the whole agenda, the whole fascist.
What do you think about the attempted assassination of Donald Trump on Saturday?
It was this close. We could have lived in a timeline where Trump would be dead, and for me, that would have been okay.
It's too bad the bandage was just over his ear. It should have been over his mouth.
I think with every fabric of my body that Donald Trump represents a threat to the Constitution of the United States.
Look, are they a threat to democracy? Yes. Are they going to take our rights away? Yes.
And his threats, against democracy, I think it's important to, turn the page.
He will focus on Donald Trump's threat to American democracy.
He feels very strongly that Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy.
So Donald Trump was recently shot at one of his rallies. How do you feel about that?
I wish he would have gotten shot in the forehead.
Donald Trump is dangerous, and because he's dangerous, Project 2025 is dangerous.
Right now, I feel like MAGA in general, they are threats to us domestically, and we see it time and time again.
That's so much better. I mean, I feel chillier already. It's very cool.
I saw a thing this morning that gal was saying, and who is it that doesn't want to have guns banned? And then a gentleman right after this lady said that, and she looked like your typical lefty. And the gentleman after that said, and who's the one shooting all the guns for these attempts?
These are leftist extremists, every one of them. Or both
and
of them.
If you don't think they couldn't get a gun if it was banned from everybody else, you're wrong.
If they are honest about this, and by the way, DeSantis is actually opening up an independent investigation from the FBI and the CIA and the Secret Service. So he's going to actually get some real answers because he says he has jurisdiction. I guess this is going to be played out in the courts and figure out, but I think if they drilled down on this guy that had the gun not yesterday, Sunday, was it Saturday or Sunday?
I'm trying to remember.
It was over the weekend anyway.
It was over the weekend. It just hit a big splash. That's terrible. We don't remember both of us.
I know.
But all of a sudden it was in the media and it was, what the heck? What?
Yeah. So, I mean, and plus it's like there's a lot of unanswered questions there. This is why conspiracy theories start, because the guy ended up in a car. They ended up getting him while he was driving, I think. So, I mean, then they found out that his phone was pinging off that location for 12 hours leading up to that. I mean, there's a lot of things that we need to find out what the answers are, and so we can improve the protection of this guy whether you like him or not. For goodness sake, how can you wish him dead? I mean, and he's really said nothing.
I don't wish death on anybody.
No.
That's just no. You can disagree with somebody, but that's going over the line.
They keep blaming.
That just shows what kind of a person you are.
Exactly.
That's making the statement of "I wish he was dead." Should have hit him in the forehead.
See, that's just. But they keep blaming Trump and his campaign for inciting violence, but I've seen no evidence of inciting violence at all from the Trump campaign. Have you? I mean, I haven't heard anything that would even be.
In fact, I think from 2016 to the 2020 election to this one, there's nowhere near as much rhetoric. I think he's kind of dropped a lot of that. And every time they try and do something like this to him, the polls are lying. There's too many people saying instead of them being under-reporting or over-reporting, no, they're way under-reporting him because we had that last week where Twitter did a poll and it was like not even in the ballpark. 73 to 27. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like, so these polls are you're going to call all your Democrat buddies to say, "Oh yeah, we're going to vote for that. That's what we're going to do. It's can we go? That's what we want."
I think you sent me a CNN interview where somebody was saying, it's like, you know what, these polls, we can go by them, but we really can't rely on them. And they have notoriously been pro-Democrat as opposed to pro-Trump. Trump has always kind of overperformed according to these polls. So we can't be, of course, he's talking to his own leftist people, but we can't sit on our laurels basically and expect that these polls are going to be accurate. So anyway, they keep blaming him for all this violence. I haven't seen it, but again, quoting one of the leftist heroes, Joseph Goebbels. He was he seems to be one of their heroes. But he says, "Accuse the other of that which you are guilty of." And that was one of his big things too. I mean,
that's exactly what they're doing, people, if you don't see it. And those little word salad quotes that coming from good old Camajo, those are all from the doctrine of the left, because her father was a communist, a socialist. And those are direct from, go ahead and look them up. They did the exact same wording, only in Chinese, for China when they were being taken over, when Mao murdered millions of people and got in power.
Sure. That's what communist leaders do, though. I mean, a lot of people don't, and I think that's why they're suppressing a lot of the history being taught, because you look at people like Pol Pot, when he got in power in Cambodia, he killed, I think it was a third or a quarter of his entire population because they didn't agree with him and they weren't on board. And then you, of course, Mao, I mean, he's killed millions. I think Lenin killed 1 million people of his own.
He killed way more than that.
It was
in the 20s and 30 million.
Okay.
And Mao, I think, was pushing 100 million.
Well, but it's kind of what they do. It's part of the package. When you go communist, it's just part of the package. They're going to eliminate you. And they're starting to eliminate now with us being canceled on YouTube. Your views, instead of being an open forum like we've had for many, many years, your views are being squashed. And it's just kind of the way that is. I've got one more montage here of how they talk about Trump. Some of this is even, let's see, did I already play that? I don't think I did play that. Here, let's see.
Right now, I feel like MAGA in general, they are threats to us domestically. And we see it time and time again. Domestic terrorism is a real thing, and he is the guy that stokes it.
Let's not pretend that Donald Trump isn't exactly like Mussolini, exactly like Hitler. He is that guy.
Donald Trump cannot be president again. He's an existential threat to democracy.
He is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated.
This MAGA threat is a threat to the brick and mortar of our democratic institutions.
The former president is a threat to our most fundamental freedoms. He has openly said he will be a dictator on day one.
Again, like one of my favorite talk radio hosts, Jesse Kelly, he puts it this way, and I think it's perfect in this situation, is that you have, in communism, you have these two groups. You have the elitists and you have the street commies. And the elitists are the people you just heard. They're the ones kind of like throwing this out there, almost giving marching orders. And then you've got these street communists, these stupid people that will carry out all this stuff because they've been told over and over and over again, he needs to be eliminated. And so anybody who has access to a gun with all the serial numbers scraped off, like this guy over the weekend, you can't blame the NRA on that one. These people gave the marching orders to the low IQ populists that listen to these people, and he's got to be eliminated. I'm going to be a hero. I'm going to take him out, and it's good for the country. It's good for democracy. And it's like, it gets my nerves. I know. I'll end up sounding like Steve if I keep going.
Well, I've been talking to him lately, so it's possible.
Oh, that's good. That's good. All right. When we come back, we're going to dig a little bit more into the CNN analysis of who we are as, I guess you could call us MAGA people. I think just Republicans in general, they just can't stand you. We'll dig into what they have to say about us when we come back.
I'm Charmaine Davies, and if you're looking for a new podcast to listen to, I suggest you stay off my lawn. Well, no, not my lawn. It's a podcast called Stay Off My Lawn, which is absolutely brilliant. It's funny, it's informative. The guys that present it are just amazing. So that's everything you need in a podcast, I think. So go over to Stay Off My Lawn. It's brilliant. Make it your guilty pleasure. It's definitely mine.
Are you or your loved ones suffering from illnesses such as TDS, also known as Trump derangement syndrome? Do you dismiss or deny the current issues facing our country, such as historic inflation, illegal immigration, corporate corruption, World War III escalations, and the chronic disease epidemic? Are you willing to elect someone who was the least popular vice president in modern history, and who offers no policy or vision for America simply because your brain keeps telling you anyone but Trump? If so, you might be struggling from TDS. Introducing Independence. Independence allows you the freedom to finally think independently once again. Instead of believing everything you hear from the mainstream media, Independence allows for constructive critical thinking.
I used to hear people on the news say things like,
Donald Trump and the movement he has encouraged are a threat to democracy.
And I instantly believed it. With Independence, I now realize the media is run by the Democrat elite, who are a corrupt oligarchy that censors free speech, silences political opponents, supports forever wars, and abandons democracy by anointing its candidates.
Independence may not be for everyone. If you enjoy being lied to about your president's cognitive abilities, support Orwellian totalitarianism, or are excited about communist fiscal policy, Independence may not be right for you. Common side effects of Independence may include an awakening of rational thought, successfully identifying propaganda, freedom of choice, loss of hatred, anti-narcissistic behavior.
All right, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 3. As we just talked about that during the break. Is it segment 3 yet? Yes, segment 3. We're almost we're just over halfway, and
hoping the bladder makes it all the way.
That's right. Okay, cheerleaders have left the field, and we're all feeling better. You know, it's interesting, the words Democrats and their pundits use to describe conservatives. They call us MAGA. They call us, remember when Clinton was...
Hillary was calling us deplorables. That was such a nice thing to say.
Basket of deplorables. Almost sounds like warm muffins, right? I mean, we're in this basket that you bring to your friends.
You take that on a picnic, a basket of deplorables? I don't know.
We're threats to democracy. We're extremists or racists, misogynists. But a CNN analyst, his name is Ely Nestel, and he was on Joy Reid's show last week, and
I can't stand 5 seconds of her. I'm sorry.
Let me see if I've got this right here. Yeah, here we go.
Everything he does is despicable.
The reason why it doesn't end his career is because his supporters are just as despicable. All right, because his supporters are just as ungenerous and have just as little compassion and empathy for others. And that's why it never hurts Trump when he takes these crass and classless actions. It's because his supporters think that being crass and classless is actually kind of cool.
Yeah, and they also, he hates the people they hate.
I've never heard anything hateful come out. Now, he might say you're a terrible reporter and you should go away, or you're stupid. That's I don't think that's classless. That's just shooting from the hip. I mean, it's just, I don't know.
Oh, this was the guy that had the big gray, white
row
on his. Yeah,
that's him.
Yeah, that stood out. Wow.
Yeah, if you're making that kind of fashion choices, I mean, we got to question you a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, so now we're despicable, which is fine. Again, I've not heard anybody on our side. Now, maybe Alex Jones or maybe somebody kind of extreme, because we have our extremists too. Somebody extreme might say something a little off color about things. I've not heard Trump call for violence. I've not heard him call to take anybody out or keep people from speaking. I've never heard him say anything like that. But again, Joseph Goebbels said, accuse the other what you're guilty of.
And if you start listening, it doesn't matter. And we unfortunately have to listen for you. Aren't you proud of us, people? Really, pat our backs. It's okay. We have to listen for you, these people. Every station, doesn't matter who they are, whether it's CNN, MSNBC, a local station, it doesn't make a rat's bit of difference. They're all saying exactly the same thing. Yep. They're all in lockstep with you got to put him down and you got to say this, and this.
Yep. Absolutely. And we're going to get to that here in a minute because we're going to go over the debate from last week because the debate happened. Well, we'll talk about that anyway. That was Tuesday night. But I've never been to a political rally in my life. Have you ever been to anything like that?
No.
No, me neither. But the videos are telling us what goes on there. I mean, we've had. I've got a clip here. This was a chant that happened organically at a Trump rally last week. Okay, that sounds pretty typical. I mean, nothing weird about that. But here's Tampon Tim at a rally. Anyway, here's what they were chanting.
What did you say?
We're not eating cats, is what you...
Oh, that one, yes.
Oh my God, it's just so great.
Don't eat cats. Don't whatever. It's
Yeah. It's just,
and I love how we talked to the city manager and he says that's not going on. And the news medias are going, no, that's not happening because they're trying to cover the other guy's butt. And then you have videos all over of people catching ducks, cutting their heads off. One guy catches a cat, cuts the head off, and then guts it right in the guy's yard.
Isn't that something?
Don't tell me they're not doing it.
Yeah, I haven't seen that video, but anyway, we did have a listener call in and ask a question, so let's play that real quick.
Hey, this is Robert from Sioux City, Iowa. I listened on Thursday and I didn't hear anything about the debate. I think Trump did great. What do you think?
Well, first of all, we record on Tuesday mornings, so the debate was Tuesday night, so we couldn't get to it. Thank you for the question, though. I think it was Robert. Anyway, we want to go over that debate a little bit, even though it's a week old news. But Richard and I were texting towards the end of that debate, and I don't think you watched the whole thing. I watched all of it, but in my opinion, it did not go well for Trump. And I will give you. I've talked to a lot of family and friends about this since then. Some of them are kind of surprised at my answer, but I don't think Trump performed well at all. And it could be there's reports of those earrings being two-way speakers or whatever.
Well, and it was 3 against 1, and they didn't allow him to. He kept trying to say something about the facts that were absolutely not fact that she was saying, because she had a gentleman that counted them all. There were 32 lies that she said in the debate, and they didn't fact check nothing. They just went, okay, yeah, you're doing good. Just keep it up.
I know there was at least 7 things that they fact checked Trump on the way, and then supposedly there was a plan to do that because he was not fact checked during the original debate between him and Biden. But now they said we're going to make sure that doesn't happen again. And of course, they let her go, and they were all over him, everything he said. So look, the only people that can be swayed towards either side are the low information, low IQ, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I mean, if you don't know anything about politics, I get it. There was a lot of years I was busy. I didn't pay a lot of attention to politics either. But we're talking maybe 2 to 5% of the voters out there that could be swung, and that only in swing states where that could be significant to the outcome. But if you take out all the lies that she told, like you said, it was up to around 32. You said,
yeah, there was a gentleman that said. Had every one of her saying them. This is what she said. Here was a clip of it. That's what she said there. And here's the facts.
Yeah.
And this is why, no, that's not right either.
I will say that she did come across in the debate calm, cool. And if I didn't know anything about that she was lying, if I didn't know enough to know that those were lies.
Oh yeah.
She knocked it out of the park. I have to admit she was,
he did not. I'm with you. He just, he was getting frustrated with 3 against 1, and they're fact checking him, not anything with her, letting her say whatever she damn well felt like saying, knowing damn good and well that's not true, because they take any speech that he's ever made out of context.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he said he's going to be a dictator. No, he said on these 2 things, yes, I will be a dictator on those to get drill and the border. Those two things I will be a dictator about. They will be finished, and we will get started drilling.
And those are things that I'm okay with. I mean, those are executive actions. If you want to talk about executive actions, look at Joe when he first took office. How many did he sign that first day?
48. Within 48 hours, he had almost 50 of them. He had a stack there that was almost as tall as he was.
If you're going to talk about dictatorship, I need you to look in the mirror a little bit and see what your guy did.
That's the problem is they keep, it's, again, more of the pot calling the kettle black, and that's not. That stuff just grinds my gizzard.
Now, Kamala and I, we're not going to go over all her lies, but we do have a few big fat ones that she threw out there. And here's our first one we'll look at.
Gun owners, we're not taking anybody's guns away, so stop with the continuous lying about this stuff.
Okay, so
that's not what you've been saying at all.
That's right. Several times in the last few years, she has said this.
We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program. It's got to be smart. We got to do it the right way.
Mandatory buyback program means we're going to take your guns. We're going to give you $100, but we're going to take your AR-15s. We're going to take whatever. And I think they're going to run into problems.
Mandatory buyback. We're taking it, and here's a quarter for your trouble.
Exactly. It's nothing.
We're not taking your guns. We're paying you for them. So I guess you must think that's not taking them, but that's what you're doing is taking them.
You got to wonder if they're not going to turn around and sell it to the rebels in Guatemala or something. I mean, you just don't know. Anyway, she did lie, like Uncle Joe has done several times, about what Trump had said about the incident in Charlottesville.
Let's remember Charlottesville. And what did the president say? There were fine people on each side.
Of course, here's what Trump really said.
You had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
There you go. So, I mean, he did not say that. He was not talking about the people walking, and this is what Joe kept saying, walking out of the woods with torches, and it's like, and it conjures up this imagery of Jim Crow and the whole thing. Is that, man, it's just not accurate. Not accurate.
Yeah. And anytime you hear them accuse him of saying something, it's not hard to find. No. There's lots of the actual fact out there and what actually came out of his mouth. If you've noticed, we don't make up stuff. We know that it's fact. We've heard it. We've seen it. And we try to play it for you what the actual facts are, not the news media. Oh, no. Hell no.
Even left-leaning websites like Snopes and PolitiFact have all agreed that a lot of these talking points that she threw out there were false. They love this word bloodbath. They want to keep throwing that out there out of context, just like you just said.
100% out of context.
Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
And that's not what he said at all. Here's how he actually used the term.
Mexico has taken, over a period of 30 years, 34% of the automobile manufacturing business in our country. Think of it. We're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars if I get elected. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath.
See that? So they took that little snippet and they took it totally out of context. And again, if you're low IQ, low information, you may hear what she said and hear that little snippet that they'll throw out there and go, I can't believe he said that.
He said that. He just said it. I just heard him. Yeah, if you take out all the stuff and what the context is that we both get to see on Instagram and Facebook. This fact was taken out of context. If it has to do with left stuff, nothing. Well, at the left, he's saying something against the right. No, there's no out of context. That's exactly what it. No, it wasn't.
No, not even close. So it's gotten to the point where the conspiracy theories are correct. You cannot believe what the mainstream media tells you. You can't believe what a lot of these online media tells you. You certainly can't believe what
happening.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go to Twitter or Instagram and believe what somebody is pouring out there. It's just awful. And so you have to exercise your brain like we've had to do for millennia as a human race and decipher what's true and what isn't. And it's not easy. I get it. totally. But CNN, now I have to give them credit lately. They've got a lot of fact checking going on, even on Kamala. I think they've figured out that that people are not listening to their leftist propaganda. They got to do something. They got to pay the bills.
No, and they're not right now. They're struggling. Somebody's feeding them money because they're not making it.
No, not at all.
Not with the viewership they have. It's disgustingly bad.
Well, this next lie was such a whopper that it made me want to blow a fuse because I knew better, and because it was so blatant, and you got to wonder if CNN caught it though, and they were talking to a former Green Beret, Mike Waltz. He's a Republican representative, and honestly, I don't remember where he's from, but he's an ex-Green Beret, so he knows of what he speaks, and here's that.
There was a particularly important comment that Harris made that our fact checkers found misleading. Here it is.
And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century.
You, I should note, are the first former Green Beret in Congress. What did you think of that moment?
Well, I about fell out of my chair. I immediately thought of the 3 soldiers from Georgia who were killed by Iranian-backed missiles and drones in Jordan. I thought of the 2 Navy SEALs who died trying to intercept Iranian smugglers off the coast of Somalia. I thought about the ships that have been used as target practice by the Houthis with drones and anti-ship missiles supplied by Iran. Heck, an aircraft carrier just got a combat medal for the first time since World War II for its actions off the Red Sea. We could keep going down the list. The special operators that are in Syria right now as we speak. We just had 6 wounded in a raid on an ISIS compound. We had another 6 wounded by a missile attack. I mean, this is a long list. So either she's a wallflower as vice president and had nothing to do with any of these actions and decisions. Oh, by the way, nothing to do with the debacle in Afghanistan, or she was at the table and was deliberately misleading the country. And it's right on the heels of Biden and his debate, saying he hasn't lost anybody on his watch. It's completely out of touch with the Gold Star families and completely out of touch with the chaos that is engulfing the world on Harris's watch, on Biden's watch.
And I think maybe that's the reason they totally forgot to show up at that 3rd anniversary with the 13 service people that had lost their lives on the withdrawal from Afghanistan at Abbey Gate.
That's my favorite clip of this when they were talking about it, that she said that there's no anybody in a war zone right now, and then boom, it goes to the soldiers that are hunkered down in a tent or whatever.
I did see that.
And he went, you see them in there, there's a bunch of them laughing. He goes, well, then where the F are we?
Exactly.
We're not what do you call this right here?
Because right now I think there's still a remnant in Afghanistan. Maybe not. I know there's some in Syria. I know we have. These are war zones. These are where places their missiles and rockets are getting launched all the time. So yeah, just inaccurate. And again, I think she's speaking to people who don't know any better, and they just like the way she came across because she did get a bump in the polls.
She has more facts than she's letting on, and
of course she does.
She's altering things for her own interest.
Of course.
Anyway.
Like she said, she's trying to sway those voters that are in the middle that haven't really paid attention, and I'm afraid that part of it worked. But anyway, we're up against a break, so when we come back, we got one more point to make on the debate, and then we'll move on to some unrealized gains, which is scary in and of itself. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. More of the Stay Off My Lawn podcast is coming up.
I, Kamala Harris, am your Democrat candidate for president because Joe Biden finally exposed his senility at the debate. Thanks, Joe. I was selected because I am the ultimate diversity hire. I'm both a woman and a person of color. So if you criticize anything I say, you're both sexist and racist. I may not know the first thing about running the country, but remember, that's a good thing if you're a deep state puppet. I had 4 years under the tutelage of the ultimate deep state puppet, a wonderful mentor, Joe Biden. Joe taught me rule number 1, carefully hide your total incompetence. I take insignificant things and I discuss them as if they're significant. And I believe that exploring the significance of the insignificant is in itself significant.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time, and there is such great significance to the passage of time.
Another trick is trying to sound black. I pretend to celebrate Kwanzaa, and in my speeches, I always do my best Barack Obama impression.
So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
And okay, look, maybe my work addressing the root causes of the border crisis were catastrophic, but my knowledge of international politics is truly shocking.
The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. It is an alliance that is strong and enduring.
And just remember, when voting this November, it is important to see what can be, unburdened by what has been. And by what has been, I mean Joe Biden. You think the country went to over the past 4 years? You ain't seen nothing yet.
Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 4. We are almost done. Again, if you didn't get to pee, you got 15 more minutes, so just sit back, tighten a knot, and you're going to be all right. As expected, she tossed out. We've got a little bit more on this debate and the lies that she told. She tossed this one out about Trump's ties again, and we've mentioned this many times in the show, to Project 2025.
Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor.
So she keeps throwing that out there that he's going to have this national
and bringing
abortion
up 2025,
ban.
that's a lie.
Yeah,
He has nothing to do with it, was not on the committee, was not involved, did not do anything with it. That is strictly a place called the Heritage Foundation, and they have some really good stuff. And it's not that far off. Plus, there is no longer a national anti-abortion. It is up to the states. And that's where it's at.
It's done. It can't even come across his desk. Even if Congress comes together and puts out some kind of national abortion bill, it's unconstitutional. That's why he put it back to the states, because the Constitution does not cover that. I don't care what Jamie Raskin or anybody else has to say.
He just infuriates me.
I know, me too. But again, CNN had former director of Project 2025, Paul Dans, on their show, and he cleared it up a little bit.
You know, the breaking news is Trump has nothing to do with Project 2025. Sure, a lot of us have worked in the admin and came together, but this started long before he even announced for president.
So there you go. I mean, I'm surprised at CNN. I really am. I think they're desperate. They're desperate to get listeners back or viewers back.
Every once in a while they put out these little nuggets that you go, that was CNN.
I know.
Really?
I'm always shocked. I really am. And again, just like you said, I found nothing in Project 2025 that calls for a federal abortion ban or even anything really that
They
offensive.
haven't read it. All they're doing is using rhetoric that came from somebody else that says you need to say this about 2025. Okay, I'll tell you that about it.
So use your brain. Go to project2025.org and read it yourself. It's going to take you a while. And I haven't read it all either.
There's a lot of it. I haven't read it all either. I've read a bunch of it, but I haven't read it all.
But if you just skim through, and see what all the bullet points and all the chapters, 900 pages, man. I mean, it's going to take you a while, but just go through it all. There's nothing in there that is what the left is saying it's in there. It's just not.
Nope.
So
not
anyway.
even not in the headlines or the little bits that might be there that bullet points. None of it. It doesn't exist.
These people on social media, they'll go in there and say, well, I've read it. And no, you haven't. First of all, if you're that offended by it, you didn't read it, because these are Christian people that have kind of put this together. They're not out there oppressing people. It annoys me. It annoys me. But it's kind of my modus operandi anymore.
It really annoys me just a little bit.
We're going to have to get you something for those teeth grinding moments there. There has been a lot of chatter about Kamala's plan to tax unrealized gains. And, I meant to look this up and I never did. But we've talked about it before, and it sounds like a rich person's problem. I've seen people sharing on social media that you've got to be worth over $100 million. I don't think that's accurate. I'm not even sure how to find that out, but I had not read anything about that you have to have a certain amount of net worth for you to be subject to this unrealized gains tax. But if you have a 401k IRA, which I hope you do, if you don't, you need to start a Roth IRA on your own if your company doesn't offer it to you. So that's my my free financial advice of the day. But this would affect you and everybody else. Vivek Ramaswamy, who really did start out as a middle-class kid, probably lower than that. He explained this whole unrealized gains tax much better than Richard and I can. So here he is.
So a tax on unrealized capital gains means that if you have a stock or a business or a private business or land that you own, that the government says has appreciated in value, but you can't sell it, you will nonetheless still have to pay taxes on that unrealized gain. The way it works today is if you bought Microsoft stock a bunch of years ago, you sell Microsoft stock for a gain, you pay 22% or so on your gain of the difference of what you made. That's the way the system works, like it or not. However, what this says is even if you haven't sold that stock or that business or that land, you have to write a check in cash to the government. Does the government accept shares in that business? No, they don't. They only accept cash. So here's what that means. It will trigger a cycle of what in the business world and in capital markets you would call forced selling. Forced selling means you don't want to sell, but you're forced to sell because you have to pay the tax out of pocket. But it turns out you won't be the only person required to do that. Somebody else will be required to do that too, but they'll have to do it at a lower price because you already sold and your sale drove down the price of the asset. And then when the next person does it, that triggers down the price of the asset further, but the guy sitting next to him has to sell that asset to pay his taxes. That is how you trigger what you call a downward spiral in asset prices. It's the best formula for triggering a second Great Depression, if we ever had one. And the reality is, you know who's going to be holding the bag at the end of it? The people who don't hold liquid assets.
Yeah, I had not thought of it like that. And that's why smart people like Vivek are good to listen to, because he kind of has the inside track on all that. And it's like, so if we had let's say we had a 401k that was worth $100,000, you're a working class person, and you keep putting money in there, and this law goes into effect next year, 25% of whatever you gained off of that asset, out of that $100,000, you'd have to pay a tax on. And if you are living like most people, paycheck to paycheck or close to that, you're not going to have that kind of money to pay at the end of the year on your taxes. It's going to eliminate your refund. It's going to cause you to pay. And like Vivek said, you may have to sell some of that or take or whatever in order to pay the tax on the money you made from that asset. Oy vey.
Yeah, and he's talking about land as well. So the example on that one was, let's say you bought a property. We'll just stay with low numbers and make it easy. $100,000. Well, in less than 5 years, now it's worth $50,000 more than what you paid for it. You're going to have to pay that extra 25% is what they want unrealized gains taxes set at. You're going to have to pay 25% of that $50,000. That's a nice little chunk of change. Now, let's say you go another 7, 8 years down the road. Now it's worth $200,000. Yeah. Well, you're going to have to pay unrealized gains on the $100,000 you've already paid on the $50,000. Now you're going to have to pay on the $100,000, including the $50,000 you've already paid on.
Right.
So you're going to have to pay the unrealized gains on that. People cannot save for retirement. There's no way in hell they can save for retirement or own anything. And it's, you're going to own nothing and be happy with it. Sure. No, we're not happy with it right now. It's not going well. This is wrong. Just flat out wrong. Oh, and one other thing, I'm jumping back up, I forgot about. On the second assassination attempt, I don't know whether you've seen this or not, but both him and the young lad who was neutralized They were both in BlackRock commercials, featured in BlackRock
Oh, I
commercials.
did see the second guy that was in it. I didn't know the first guy was in them too.
Yeah, he was a student sitting in the classroom.
Ain't that something?
And they talked to him about things. Yeah. So let's put BlackRock at the front of this,
There's
shall we?
connections for sure. But
Again, that's conspiracy theory, but wow, it sure jumps out and smacks you right upside the head. But yeah, this unrealized gains thing is just absolutely asinine. You've saved, you've worked hard to put that 401k, you did a Roth so you didn't have to pay taxes on it later down the road, and now your investments that's being used for your 401k has gained 25%. Well, you got to pay 25% on top of that to be able to keep your 401k, or like you said, sell some of the stocks so that you can afford to fork over. We don't have a taxation problem with the federal government.
No.
We have a spending problem.
And of course, that's a conservative talking point we've all been talking about for many decades. But
it's not free money, people. It's ours, and it just frosts my gizzard. I worked my tail off for that to then have it be redistributed to ones who sit on their keister doing nothing that are capable of working. No.
And I think the example you gave as far as like a couple of acres of land or whatever that you've had just in the explosion in the real estate market in the last 4 years. And
my place is worth stupid money right now.
See, that's what I mean.
Stupid money. I couldn't afford that. I'd have to sell it and move or go do something.
I'm not sure about the details of that. Would you have to pay that on the property that you live in? I mean, that would really
you own
paint
it. That's your property that you're making payments on, have a mortgage for, whatever the case might be. You're now, instead of your property being worth $125,000, it's now worth close to $500,000.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money. You got to come up with 25% of that is not fun to come up with. I don't have it.
There's properties in my area where things have gone up 200% in the last 4 years. So I mean, so something that was worth $100,000 4 years ago is now worth $300,000. So I mean, how in the world could anybody think about that $200,000 gain? 25% of that is what? That's $50,000. Right?
Yeah,
Is that right?
I don't have that laying around. Oh, here, let me go to my cash box and no.
But again, like Vivek said, that would cause you to have to sell that land in order to pay the tax. You start doing that, it drives the prices down on everything, and we bottom out and we face another Great Depression.
And then BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard come in and snap it up.
Oh, sure. They'll be.
I get calls all the time. Hey, is this, how much? I'm not interested. Thank you. No, really, we can pay. Go away.
They'll be drooling all over themselves for these kind of things. They've been buying up land as it is. Oy vey. I need a palate cleanser.
No kidding.
Paul Harvey and the rest of the story is talking about another TV personality, TV cowboy from years gone by, and how his youth was very different than how you and I know him.
Now, the rest of the story. All the firemen at Station 1 on East Broadway knew Skinny. Skinny was 13. He was slender and shy, as his nickname suggested, and his constant companion, his only friend as far as anybody could tell, was a big old springy-haired Airedale dog. That dog followed Skinny everywhere. Would have followed him all the way to school if the boy had not begun bringing him to the firehouse, where the pooch slept all day until his young master returned for him each afternoon. The firemen liked Skinny, sort of felt sorry for him. Teased and bullied as he was by the other boys. The meaner ones even called him little girl. Skinny just didn't fit in with the youngsters his age. He had a paper route, that was nice, read a lot of books in his spare time, but otherwise Skinny was just plain lonesome. Except, as I say, for that devoted Airedale dog. Now, one autumn morning, Skinny came by the firehouse to leave his dog for the school day, when one of the firemen noticed the boy's lip was gashed and bleeding, and one of his eyes was dark purple. Skinny, obviously ashamed, tried to hurry off, but this fireman, nobody remembers his name, this fireman said, "Hey, Skinny, come here." And the youngster reluctantly obeyed. "Who did this to you?" the fireman asked. Well, Skinny explained about this one bully in particular, how he always taunted, little girl, how come you wear pants instead of a dress?" But this morning, Skinny had not managed to outrun his tormentor, and at that point in his story, Skinny began to cry. The fireman placed a brawny hand on the boy's shoulder. "You know what I used to be," he said. "A boxer. Professional, too. Pretty good in my day." And what I think you need is a few pointers how to stand up for yourself. And that afternoon, after school, Skinny returned for his first boxing lesson. It was the first of several. And when next the bully chased him down, Skinny turned and stood his ground. The two boys fought to a draw that day, and yet more important than mere victory, what Skinny won for himself was the respect of his schoolmates. And so it began. You never knew the scared, scrawny schoolboy reborn in a Glendale, California firehouse in the autumn of 1920. The youngster whose feminine-sounding first name, Marion, had inspired the hated nickname Little Girl. But now, I hope you will never forget the Glendale firefighter, who you might say created the man the world remembers with near reverence. And the fireman of station number 1 at 315 East Broadway created something else, a more respectable nickname for their young friend. You see, that Airedale dog the boy dropped off at the firehouse each day, his name was Little Duke. Little Duke. So to encourage the self-confidence in Little Duke's master, the fireman began calling the boy Big Duke. And that name, Big Duke, stuck. Even after the shy, skinny youngster, Marion, Michael, Morrison, even after he became Big Duke, the two-fisted, ultimately tough screen legend you knew as John Wayne. Only now you know the rest of the story.
Gotta love that. Gotta love those stories. I did not know about any of that. I knew his first name was Marion, but I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, well, I knew it was Marion Michael Morrison. That much I did know. And yes, he's been called Duke for as long as I can remember. But I didn't know the reason or where it came from.
Yeah,
so,
me neither.
Again, more stuff that's just fascinating for those of us old guys who, and even the younger crowd knows who John Wayne is. There's still, those movies are still out there, still going around. So,
and we were kids, those movies were iconic. I mean, there was,
oh, yeah.
Everybody watched those movies. But yeah, it's kind of neat. It is kind of, you would never guess, considering how much of a tough guy he was in his movies anyway, that he grew up, not being such a tough guy.
Grew up into his body, didn't he?
He sure did.
Not so scrawny.
Into his name. He earned that name. He sure did.
Yep.
Well, we hope you were somewhat informed and had fun like we did. Don't forget you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Smart Speaker, and Rumble, and wherever you get your podcasts.
And we're also, don't forget to go check us out on our new network, the oracletalkradionetwork.com at 5 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. Just go to that website, oracletalkradionetwork.com, scroll down, and it'll be a play button, and off you go. You can listen on the way home. Or you can just go to our to our radio site, to our to our regular website at stayoffmylawn.us for all our past and present episodes.
Yeah, it's not really a regular website. It's actually a pretty fantastic website. But anyway, I designed it, so it's got to be really good. So we hope to see you next week, folks.
Thanks so much for listening. We really appreciate it. Tell a friend and bring them along. We love having the folks to talk to. And send us your request to talk about stuff. We're happy to answer them as we did today. So
that's right.
Thanks again for listening.
Toodles.
Well, we had fun and hope you did too. The opinions heard here today are not those of anyone other than Mike and Richard. If it made you laugh or go, or even, then we've done our job. Sort of. Well, mostly anyway. And if we made you think about things in a common sense manner, we welcome you to the club. And if it didn't, then just stay off my lawn. See you next time.